What's going on, guys? I'm Journey, back with a thoughts video, this time on Octopath Traveler. The game is pretty alright. It has its high points and it has its low points. But let me just touch on some of the low points. Now. Now the game itself, I'll put this. Uh it's really low key, very, very zen. And it feels like that throughout the campaigns. Sometimes the music will pick up, probably during a boss battle or something, maybe a little bit later, but like you'll probably spend more time sleeping while playing than actually getting through the content. It's not a bad game to get through. It's just really, really chill. You kind of have to prepare yourself for something like this, especially when it's turn-based. It's not much going on, and especially with the reading as well, the voice acting is inconsistent. That's how I can put it. Not in the performance, but as often as is given, if that makes any sense. So even during the main portions of each character story, mind you, there's 8 characters now. 8 characters, 4 chapters apiece for each character. They're pretty extensive. Uh, Sometimes the voice actor kicks in, sometimes it don't. Other times, a bubble will pop over a character, and they'll say like a one liner or something, and they don't read out the full sentence. And that's pretty much basically on Square for not necessarily putting the money in to get the voice acting together. Like I can understand about running through the world talking to NPCs. I understand that aspect. I can understand side questing. I understand that. But when you come towards your main storylines for each of the characters, I don't care. That whole sequence needs to be voiced. It's pretty hard to read. Then they start all of a sudden then start the voice actor comes in, so then you gotta stop reading, and then you're trying to sit there trying to figure out whether or not you have to read or not. It's a bit weird to me. There's that. The characters also do not align with each other at all. Um, Maybe after like you start a new chapter, depending on where you are, you'll come out and there'll be an icon to press the start button. Then characters will actually talk to each other, but it's nothing that necessarily brings them together. They're really, for the most part, nowhere to be seen with each other during like cutscenes. So it makes for a very awkward kind of situation where even the game's called Octopath Traveler, it's still pretty much basically a story of 8 solo as opposed to a story of 8 together, helping each other, uplifting each other, carrying each other, that type of thing like that. So I think that's a big thing. The other issue is, once again, with the story, there's no underlying theme that connects them. If that makes any sense, there's one thing to have them go through the motions and like not talk to each other, but there's no storyline that can actually connect them. I mean, there's something here, like you can there's pieces in there that could be like a underground kind of force, uh, corporation, whatever you want to look at it as, uh, syndicate, cult, or whatever that's working behind the scenes, and there's people within positions of power, whether via the studies, if you would, some like behind Cyrus with like libraries and stuff of that nature, um, to then uh, scientific experiments that could then cause uh part of what's haunted story is about, right? A monster turning her master into stone due to some of the experience that was going around that Cyrus tends to find based within his story, uh, towards something like Ulbrich for his partner, pretty much basically committing immunity, essentially, and killing the king. And Ulbrich's out here trying to find himself. Well, like there's a lot of underlying things you could use to connect the pieces with everybody in the game. It's just not there at all, which makes for a very awkward experience because I just don't I don't even get why we're even part of a team. I don't even get why we're even fighting together. I don't even get why uh they even need each other to get through the game. Like just don't make no sense. Other than that, the game is really nice. It's good. And here's one other thing where I'll say middle. Um, It's a knock, but not necessarily as much of a mop depending on who you are. The break-in situation reminds me of Final Fantasy 13, where you have the stagger meter, but then at stagger meter you have to damage the enemy to a certain point before they get staggered. Then you could do like pretty good damage to the enemy before that meter goes away. This is kind of similar in a sense where I feel like they took that system and refined it so much to come up with this, which is, and this is actually, you can find this in some mobile stuff too as well. Whether their mobile game breakfast is still Square, where the enemies you can only really break their gauge. It's set by a number, so you'll see the number on top of a shield. And so you damage them with a particular element or a specific weapon, and it's like a line of like 5, maybe some people got 4. I don't know if it goes lower, but it's really specific. So you have a sword, you have a knife, you have a wand, you have a spear, you have a dagger. I believe dagger. I don't know if I already said it. You have a bow and arrow. You have a hatchet, and you can attack with these things. Plus, with your elements, and depending on what the enemy is weak to, will decrease that number on top of that shield by 1. Once it hits 0, the enemy is staggered, essentially broken. Then you could do pretty much basically the damage you should be doing. So you'll look at it as being multiplied. But when they get unstaggered again, that number will reset back and they'll still be buffed up. You'll barely be able to do much damage at all. So you have to, the game is built so that you have to break the enemy. It shows, it rears its ugly head later when, especially like enemies that are a little bit more powerful, after they get broken, then all of a sudden there are things that they're weak to switches. So then you're back to looking at question marks again. And really, honestly, the only real thing I've seen in the game that can like combat this has been Cyrus' analyze ability. But in order to get the mass majority of it, you have to boost, which is another aspect of the game I want to talk about. Boosting reminds me of Bravely Default. As long as you're not really using like certain skills, you'll be able to at the end of the turn acquire 1 BP. I'm gonna call them battle points, and you can fill it up. I think it's like 5. You can fill up to 5 or 6. I think it's like 5 that you fill up to. Can't remember. No, 6. So yeah, I forget. But it could go up to 4. You could max boost up to 4. What this allows you to do, as far as on regular attacks, you could attack 4 times in one turn, as opposed to just only attacking once. So boost of 1 will give you 2 attacks. A boost of 3 will give you 3 attacks. A boost of 4 will give you 4. At least that's I'm quite sure that one is right. Now, also for your skills, it will boost up the amount of damage you can output, but it really wouldn't matter unless the enemy is broken. Like, you'll do more damage, but the enemy will still have their, if their break meter is up, you're not going to do nowhere near as much as if it was broken. So the idea is to break them, then boost, then attack. So Tressa is one of the characters that she is a merchant, but one of her skills is she could donate BP to a character, whether it be a damage dealer, a support, or however you want, whoever you want to send it to, and that could help you further strategize. So the strategy is kind of here. It's not too bad. One of the things about the game is you can actually be able to acquire a second job. The game doesn't tell you. You just have to find a shrine somewhere based on one of the other characters' jobs, and then you unlock their job to at least assign to whoever that you want. And only characters can assign one job, one sub job, period. No character can have the same sub job. So it makes for a very interesting team comp. But one of the things about like kind of like this old school style of games, they are very, very vague. So you either have to look it up or you just have to magically fall into it. One of the things I found out was that there's supposedly a true ending after everything is done, but you have to get through I think it was like 2 side missions, then find an optional dungeon that's supposed to be stupid, ridiculously difficult. And I'm not grinding out to level 80, whatever, just to do all that. So yeah, I'm not gonna front. It's just it's kind of weird how they had this set up, but it's there. The content is there if you want to go and take that trip. Now, one of the things I loved about the game is it's weird. I do like the music. Like I said, it's mellow, but I'm fine with it. It's just this game's hard to stream, but it is really, really nice to play when you're not trying to do that, trying to talk, just sit back, chill, and just enjoy it at your own pace. The The combat, even though it can be crazy, can still be fun depending on if you're into it. The characters themselves are very distinctive within their personalities. Tressa is very joyful. Primrose is very she is very kind of like sophisticated. She has this uh presence demeanor about her where she's like beautiful, and she seems to know her way around the room. Hana is much more, she's much more, how do I put this? She's like level head. She knows what she needs to be, but she also is dedicated on growing, especially at her craft. And she's very smart, but she also has this kind of like crazy accent that's just super hard to even like get through. You can tell she speaks that like old school English stuff. But she is a very, very nice character. Um Alvin is just cool, man. He like Alvin is like, he's like, he's a freaking doctor. Or he all you want to do is just get out there and kind of save lives, and he's very positive. Um, Mostly throughout his campaign until some things happen, but for the most part, he's a very, very positive guy. Olberg is a guy who's still within, like his thoughts. He's very strong. He's very prideful, and he's out there now trying to figure out his own through the situations around that's happened with him. Cyrus is a guy. He's so dedicated to his studies that he completely loses sight of everything else around him. He is a complete. He's a complete. How best way to put it without sounding crazy? Uh, he just he's lost. Let's just say he is lost into his craft. He's just negligent. He's negligent to everything else besides the studies. So there is a crazy cast set full of characters, and Therion is more like a guy he's good as art, but he tries to block it all out and keep people at a distance. But there's good person to be there. That's there. So it's a fun time. You just have to go and kind of see it for yourself. Um, so it's just a lot here. Um, outside of all that, outside of all that, I'm going to say this, and this is just kind of like a big issue I have with third parties anyway. It's on top of that exclusivity stuff because I think that stuff hurts IPs more than to help it. This one is a brand new IP, and one of the issues and risks that you have with this is, like, remember it was exclusive for you on Nintendo Switch. You bring it out to a new platform, PC, and I don't know how successful it's been, but people waited forever. And then sometimes it's like you wait so long, you just forget it even exists. And then some people just don't even ever find it again. And then after that, you bring it over to Google Stadia of all places, Google Stadia, and then it's like, yeah, I mean, no, but I'm quite sure Niche over there was probably happy. I don't know. And then they got it on Xbox Game Pass, which is nice. It's just I wish that this stuff wouldn't take this long because if people have an interest in it, it's best to get it while the interest is hot. And I don't know if taking money or at least making deals to make this exclusivity stuff helps the IP grow. So I think personally, if anything, big shouts to the fans who's literally just keep their minds and keep their interest in this, and just want to kind of see it grow and will support it wherever it goes. But that's just it's an indictment against the publisher, the company itself, and more of a credit to fan bases for actually keeping their minds fresh for something like this. Oh, and mind you, out of all the places, like I said, Google Stadia, this still haven't found its way to PlayStation. PlayStation back in the day has been synonymous with the JRPG platform, so it's just been really weird while they keep Final Fantasy VII as a exclusive for how long they want to work those kind of deals. And then the next game after this is supposed to be Project Strategy. It's supposed to be exclusive to Nintendo Switch again. Are we going to go through the same process? It's the weirdest thing. Like I don't know what it is. Maybe they're so struck up on cash that they have to accept whatever they can get. Because at the end of the day, I do believe with a name like Square and a new IP, I believe if you give yourself a chance and just get it out there so that way it gets exposure. The most important thing for a new IP is exposure. It's exposure. And you're effectively, I think you're just limiting yourself like crazy, and you're damn near about to kill yourself just by keeping it exclusive on one platform. That's just my 2 cents. But I don't know. And obviously with the voice acting, I just don't think they paid the money into it. So that way it could be consistent, could be a really nice flush experience. Because what's going to happen is that somebody who's not being completely invested don't feel like reading 24/7. It's going to eventually clock out. It's going to eventually clock out because they ain't got the time. But it's a lot easier just to hear voices, see it all, because behind the voices come the emotion, and the vocal actions between characters and how they move and how they look between different scenes can actually make somebody want to sit there longer, because now these characters have personality, they got life, as opposed to just having to read it. That's just my 2 cents. But I like this game for me, but it's still pretty niche, and I just don't know how it's going to be accepted within a gaming space with different platforms, especially after people that have done waited, and then even after you done waited, when the time comes for it to come, it's freaking full price. At least on currently right now, the game I'm playing is through Game Pass. I've owned it on the Switch, but it's out now through Game Pass. They have 20% off, which makes it the $47.99 at this time. So you know, it's kind of hard. It's kind of frustrating because this is a really good experience. I kind of think I kept this going on a little long enough for this thoughts video. But yeah, I like this game though. If you do have the opportunity, please go out and give this one a try. It might just fit your needs. Everybody's a little bit different, but I hope everybody can at least give this one a shot. That's my thoughts on Octopath Traveler, and I hope you take care of yourself and take care of each other. Until then, take care, everybody.